everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be diving into the Celestial Nirvana palette. I finally got this in the mail. It took about a week and a half for it to arrive. Sometimes with Pat McGrath, you never know. It seems like their shipping is getting better. I remember oftentimes waiting 2-3 weeks for our orders to arrive. So it is arriving quicker, but I think her distribution center is out of New Jersey and I live in Utah, so it takes a really long time for it to get to me. It's like snail mail. I finally have it. We're going to be diving into it. I will also be doing a full review on the two 5-pan palettes and the highlighter and the new blush that was launched. This video is going to be all about the Celestial Nirvana. Now, I did 3 eyeshadow looks using the palette, and I will also be sharing swatches of the palette along with comparisons to other palettes, just so you guys can see how the tones compare and if it's something that you guys need in your collection. So this palette retails for $82. If you order it on the Pat McGrath website and you use the code Nirvana10, you can get 10% off. So just FYI. So the description of this palette, it has 4 luxe finishes, structure and highlights, creamy textures, effortless blending, 1-stroke color release, extreme adherence, and you can use them wet or dry. The total weight of the palette is 22.7 grams, which is 0.80 ounces, which is almost an ounce of product. Lots of shadows in this palette. Now, if you go to the website, it does kind of give you a breakdown of this palette, and they broke it down into 3 sections, which I like that. So these first 2 rows right here are one section, and then these 2 rows are the second section, and then these 2 rows are the third section. I do like how they're broken up that way and kind of structured in a way where it's artistically pleasing to look at and to feel creative in. There's a lot going on in this palette, a lot of color, and if you guys are new here, I struggle with color. I have a very hard time with color. It's very hard for me to put all those colorful shadows together and make it work. I feel like I did a fairly decent job. The second look, I could kind of take it or leave it, but the first look was really beautiful, and I love this eye look. So I tried. I struggle with colorful eyeshadow looks, but let's go ahead and jump into the 3 tutorials using the palette. Then we will get into the swatches and comparisons, and then of course I will jump into my final thoughts. So I will see you guys then. Let's get into the eyeshadow looks using this palette. We're going to do a quick close-up. Look at these colors. So for the first look, I am going to go into this blue shade. That blue shade is so pretty, and I cannot wait to use it. I'm going to take my Smith 253 brush. I'm going to grab the blue. That shade might be best applied with a finger. That brush is just not quite picking it up very good. It is, but I think it gives probably the best intensity with a finger. So now I'm going to take a blending brush and I'm going to go into this shade right here. I'm going to sweep that in the crease and kind of use that to kind of blend it out. Now I'm going to go into this dark matte up here on the top corner. I think I might grab a tiny bit of this blue right up here, this like navy blue. I truly do not know what I'm doing when it comes to colorful eyeshadow looks. I have no idea. I'm just playing around because this is so far out of my wheelhouse. But I think I might like that blue more than that purple. I'm gonna take my blending brush and I'm gonna go into the blue shade. Okay, so I went ahead and cleaned up the outer corner, put some concealer on, and I'm gonna start with the lower lash line to kind of start pulling this together. So I'm gonna go into this matte shade right here. Just sweep that under my lower lashes. And then I'm gonna go into that dark matte on the top row. Kind of blend that in. I'm gonna take my flat brush. I'm gonna go into that navy blue color and I'm gonna focus that right here on the outer corner, on both the upper and the lower. I wanna put something on the center of the lid just to kind of make it pop. So I'm gonna go into this purple shade right here. This palette's really hard to hold. That really pretty kind of lavender, I don't know, icy kind of color. It's really pretty. And I'm gonna place that like right between the blue and that navy and kind of, I'm also gonna put that purple shade here on the inner corner. Woo! Right? That shade is gorgeous. It's like the softest. It has more of a icy purple. Like, yeah, that's how I would describe it. So it has a purple undertone, but it's kind of that icy bluish purple. But I'm gonna leave it here because I am gonna be wiping this eyeshadow look off, so I don't wanna put a bunch of mascara on. So this is the final look for look number 1. And even though these tones are completely out of my wheelhouse, I actually really like the way that this turned out. The mattes were really easy to use, kind of buttery and not dry. Like, some of Pat McGrath's mattes can be dry. I just had that experience in the last Mothership palette, the Moonlit Seduction. That palette, the mattes were a little dry. It was extremely easy to apply. Everything blended beautifully, and so far, so good. So that's it for look number 1. Let's go ahead and jump into look number 2. Let's go ahead and jump into look number 2. And I want to see what this matte shade looks like, this one right here. So I'm going to sweep that in my crease and see if it's dry. I'm a little bit skeptical. It feels really creamy, so I'm curious to see how it's going to apply here in the crease. So that shade has a lot of pigment, so go in quite slow if you're like me and you have a hard time blending, especially this is my hard eye, like crossing over, it's really hard for me. I can do this eye really well, but this eye, not so much. Now I'm thinking about going into this shade right up here just to kind of see how that shade works with that other shade, and it looks like it might just turn fully red. Ooh. Okay, maybe that wasn't the best idea. Those two shades together are hella pigment. Like, so much pigment that it, like, might even stain my skin. It's a lot of pigment, like those two shades together. Ooh. Ooh, okay, now this look I might lose control of this look pretty quick. So I think I'm gonna leave the crease alone for just a minute. Yeah, I don't wanna take it too much farther. I might use like this shade as a base and then maybe put something like this over top of it. So let's try it. Okay, I'm gonna grab my Smith 253. I'm gonna go into that red shade and place it here on the lid. Yeah, those shades don't really go together. I'm just gonna be completely honest. Like, looks like in the pan that they'll go together, but I don't think they go together. Because this is like a rusty kind of coppery color, and then I have straight up pink. And both of these shades, like, so this is the matte, okay? Look at the pigment though, you guys. And then that's the shimmer. And they look like they're gonna go together, but once you blend this out, it kind of turns into a lighter pinkish color, like a, see what I mean? And that just doesn't go together. So I gotta kind of try to fix this. And I'm not exactly sure how I want to do it. Oh my gosh. See, you guys, I'm just not good at this stuff. I'm just not. But I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna try to figure this out. So I'm gonna actually grab this really pretty light yellow shade up here on the top. I'm wondering if I lighten up this rust color that it might go better together. I'm just gonna grab that shade and apply it over top. Just to try to, okay, now we're getting somewhere. See, it's like, I just needed to kind of brighten, and okay, that, now we're getting somewhere. I think that helped. Now I just got to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with this crease. Okay. You guys, I am just not good at this color stuff. Like, it's just completely, I'm like completely out of my element here. So I'm going to go into that first matte that we used, and I'm going to sweep that here on the outer corner. And then I'm going to go into that second matte, that darker kind of maroonish red color. Yeah, those shades are so strong that they like stained my skin. I can see it right there. I'm wondering what it would look like if I went into this matte right here, just to kind of see if it will calm down some of the brightness and kind of pull it together. That's helping actually a lot. Like, that's something I can live with. Like, that's something I can work with. Now I'm going to go into that shade first, and I'm going to bring that here on the lower lash line. Okay, then I'm going to go into that dark maroon color. It's not really a maroon. It's more of a, what color is that? I don't even know what color that is, to be honest with you. Okay, then I'm going to go into, this palette is so hard to hold up, this shade right here. And I'm going to sweep that under here, kind of smoke it out. And now I got to get rid of this line. Having a hard time getting this line to buff out without it being like too crazy. Like, this one's a little softer here. This one's just like, bam, right? And I'm trying to get it to blend out, and I just can't. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. And here's the thing. If I could get rid of that line, the actual eyeshadow look is quite pretty. I just need to get rid of this line. That's the thing that's kind of messing the whole thing up. So I think I'm just going to leave it here, you guys. I could keep working on this for the next 30 minutes. And it's still just not going to be my favorite, right? It's just a little bit out of my wheelhouse, and I'm just kind of over it at this point. You know what I mean? Like, you just give up. But if I had to do it over, I would have done it with this and this shade and then kind of worked it from there. So I'm just going to leave it here. That's it for look number 2. Let's go ahead and jump into look number 3. So I went ahead and wiped off those 2 eyeshadow looks. Let's go ahead and jump into the third and final look. This shade looks like such a gorgeous kind of taupey bronzy shade, and I really want to use it. It's so pretty. So I'm going to take my Smith 253 brush. I'm going to go into that shimmering taupey bronze, I guess is what I'm calling it, and stick it here on the center of the lid and kind of sweep it. It is beautiful. That is such a gorgeous shade. Woo! It's really soft on the eye, like, and it's not super sparkly, like, it's done right. And then I'm going to sweep some of it up and into the crease. But now I'm going to take a stiff brush and kind of buff out those edges. Now I'm going to take my blending brush and I'm going to go into this matte, and then I'll probably deepen it with that shade. I'm also going to put that here on the outer corner. Now I'm going to take the BK Beauty 204 and I'm going to go into that dark matte. I'm going to focus it right here on this outer corner. I'm wondering what this shade right up here will look like. How that will look like right here on the center of the lid. I went ahead and threw on some concealer. Now I'm going to work the lower lash line with these two matte shades right here. Now I'm going to take my flat brush and go into the dark matte and kind of smoke that in. Now I'm just going to lightly kind of tap this out. See how much easier that one is to tap out than the pink one? Ooh, I struggled with that pink one, you all. Like, I struggled so much with that pink one. Holy smokes. I want to put that shimmer shade, this one right here, on the inner corner. And why not do a brow bone? I'm kind of feeling it today. So I'm going to stick that like right there, and also a little bit up here. Okay, so I'm back. I went ahead and finished the other eye, threw the rest of my makeup on, and I love the way this eyeshadow look turned out. It's so beautiful, and it kind of goes to show you that this palette kind of offers a lot. It offers something more soft and subtle, and it also offers very bright, colorful looks. Overall, I really love this eyeshadow look. It's absolutely beautiful. So that's it for all of the tutorials using the palette. Let's go ahead and jump into the swatches. And I'm gonna swatch this palette and also compare it to a few other palettes that I find that might be similar in tone. And then, of course, we will jump into my final thoughts. So I will see you guys then. Okay, so I'm back. I do hope that those swatches and comparisons were helpful. Let me go ahead and get into my final thoughts. You guys, this palette is definitely a very, very colorful palette, and you either love color or you don't. If you don't love color, I don't even recommend even picking this up. This palette is definitely for those who really love color and can feel creative with color and love wearing those strong, bold, beautiful, colorful looks. I am happy that Pat McGrath kind of went outside of the box and really brought something super colorful, especially for those of you that really love a lot of color. The one thing that you may have noticed in the Swatches and Comparisons is that this Celestial Divinity palette has a lot of similar shades to the Love palette from Natasha Denona. So if you have this Natasha Denona palette, you have a lot of these shades. It was interesting as I was going through my palettes, a lot of tones are very similar. I mean, some of them are almost identical, especially with the mattes. So just kind of keep that in mind because this palette is $82. There were also some similarities to the Celestial Odyssey palette. So this big red one. So even though this year's has a lot of pops of color, I did find a lot of similar shades. So just kind of keep that in mind. I think between this palette and the Love palette, you pretty much have this one in your collection. So something to take note of. Overall, the formula I'm really impressed with. So the mattes really have a lot of pigment. And even though they're strongly pigmented, they blend really easily. And like I mentioned in the tutorials, I don't always have that experience with Pat McGrath mattes. Sometimes they're really dry and other times they are soft and blendable. The one thing that is very consistent when it comes to Pat McGrath mattes is that they are very pigmented, and these are no exception to that. But they are very easy to blend. I mean, swatching them is a lot of fun because they really swatch well, and they have this like buttery kind of texture to them. And if you've ever put your finger into a Pat McGrath matte, sometimes they feel a little scratchy. These don't feel that way, not even a little bit. And the first holiday palette was a total flop for me. The mattes were so dry in that palette, did not like it. Last year's palette, I really liked. The mattes were not dry, they were buttery, and the shades were easy to work with. And that's how this palette is as well. I think the mattes in this palette are some of her better mattes, to be completely honest with you. So if you really like a lot of color, this is a great option for you because this palette offers nice, colorful mattes that blend really easily. I don't think I'll probably ever use this palette again, and that's just being completely honest. I will keep it in my collection so that I have it for swatching purposes in the future, but this palette is just not who I am. It's not really my color story, but I appreciate the colors in here, and I know that there is so many of you out there that love color, and I don't think you'll be disappointed with this palette. I really don't. She did a good job on it. So those are my overall thoughts. Sound off down below. How many of you guys picked up this palette? How many of you guys are skipping it? I'm so curious to hear your thoughts. Sound off down below. Like I mentioned in the intro, I will be doing a full review on the two 5-pen palettes. Those are the palettes that I'm most excited about because those are kind of my jam. Like those are more my tones, right? So I'm really excited to play with those and do a full review on those as well, along with the new blush and the highlighter, which look absolutely stunning. I can't wait to get them. But for now, that's it for this review. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in today's video. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you. Bye.